This is Sean Ryu and I'm back with another gear review video. The past couple of reviews that I did were actually based on different stove options that I use, as well as my Ultralight cook kit. So what I decided to do was I wanted to just kind of talk about different types of utensils that I also have used in backpacking, how I've kind of transitioned to different ones, the ones I like, the ones I don't like, and just kind of talk about some of the brand names and maybe kind of go into specifics about the weights and the benefits and the pros and cons and that type of thing. So let me go ahead and get started. The first one that I actually used when I started backpacking was this one by CRKT. It's a Eton tool. I'll actually give you the weight on it too. This one comes in at 1 ounce or 1.1 ounce. I didn't really use this long. The reason why is because, as you can tell, it's actually a very short spork. You put your finger in here, you kind of hold it like this, and you actually go in and you use it like that. It just wasn't very practical. When you look at things like either using freezer bag or going into something like this, like a mountain house, it just, when you look at the size of this and trying to dig in there, I realized that my hand was getting into the food a lot. Which wasn't something I really liked. Even with a pot this small, yeah, it'll fit in there, but I mainly don't eat out of my cook pot, so that's one of the reasons why I just decided I didn't like this, so it didn't really get that much use. Also, I don't know if it's going to come on the camera, but the actual bowl part of the spoon wasn't really that deep, so when you would do stuff like soups or something that you wanted to fill up in this, it just didn't really work that well for me. So I got rid of this really quickly. So the next thing that I did was I transitioned to a Snow Peak spork. I don't have it here right now. It kind of looks like this one right here. This one is a titanium one made by Vargo. And let me go ahead and give you a weight on this one. This one comes in at 0.4 ounces, so it's actually significantly lighter than the other one. I do like the fact that it does have the spork on it. I also do like the fact that the bowl is a lot deeper and wider, so you can get a lot more in it, especially when you're drinking or using it for soups and stuff like that. When you compare it to a cook pot like this, you know, you can definitely get in there. Even with your mountain houses or doing freezer bag cooking, you've got plenty of room to go in there and scoop your food out. So this actually worked for me. I liked it, but one of the things that I didn't like about it is that it's got this powder coating on it, and it just didn't, you could just taste it. So I don't know why. I've heard a lot of people complain about the same thing. So for me, I just decided, you know, I didn't like, eventually I decided that I wanted to try something else. So I changed this out and I went to this, which is just a little plastic basic spoon. Nothing fancy about it. Let me go ahead and give you and I actually picked this up at Walmart, if I remember correctly. It was just one of those random things. I happened to be in a camping aisle. I normally don't pick up backpacking stuff at Walmart, but this just happened to be one of those things that I picked up. And this one weighs 0.36 ounces. So it's lighter than the Vargo. It's a plastic spoon. It does have a deep bowl on it. There is no spork option on it, but for me, this did work for a little while. I want to say I probably used it on maybe 3 or 4 backpacking trips. I also noticed that with the plastic stuff, it's easier to clean up when you compare it to something like this. Your food has a tendency to kind of get caught all up in here. Yeah, it's easy. You can clean it, it's easy, but for some reason just the plastic seems to work better, so that's why I went with that option. Then what I did was I decided I wanted something that was longer, because like I said, I do a lot of freezer bag cooking. So I wanted a long spoon, and this is a titanium long spoon from Optimus. And the weight on this one is actually 0.6 ounces. So I actually kind of went up in weight on this. But some of the things I did like about this is one, it was a nice and smooth bowl right here. So when you're eating food, it just tastes better. In addition to that, it's definitely longer than all the other spoons that I'm showing here, represented here. So when you're doing freezer bag cooking, whether it's in a 1-quart freezer bag or you're eating out of a mountain house, this thing can definitely go down. You've got plenty of reach. You don't have to worry about your hand getting in there. So it worked for me. But the one thing I decided that I didn't like about it was just something else that I had to kind of stick in my pack, and you know, it couldn't go with my cook pot, because when you compare a cook pot like this, there's no way that this is going to fit in there. So I wanted something that was going to make it so that I could stick everything inside of this cook pot. That way when I went to go make my meals, I knew exactly where to go. Just pull this cook pot out, everything's in there, and I'm ready to go. So what I started doing was looking at this spoon, which is made by Optimus. It's a titanium spoon. It resembles, you know, everything, this Bargo one that I liked. And as far as shape, bowl size, it having a spork. And basically all you do is you just fold this thing out, you slide this piece down, and then you have a spork. And let me also give a weight on this. The weight on that is 0.5 ounces, so it's a little bit lighter than the Optimus spoon. The one thing that I also realized quickly that I didn't like about this is that when you're reaching in your freezer bags, or when you're reaching into your Mountain House foods, this thing actually, or this part right here, this section right here, goes into your food. So when you're digging in here, let me see if I can get it on camera. When you're digging in here, you're getting all kinds of food and stuff caught in here. And to some people that's probably not a big deal, but when you're not carrying a lot of water for cleanup sometimes, because you're going through long stretches where there may not be water, also, you know, when you're tired and you just don't feel like doing dishes, having all kinds of food in here, just caked all in here and in here, it just really was a pain. I noticed that a lot of times when I would eat at night, and then the next day when I go to use it again, I'd still see stuff even after I cleaned it off and thought I had done a really good job, just because I guess I couldn't see it that well at night. And that to me just didn't really seem very sanitary, and I just didn't like that. So I decided that I wanted to go with another option, and that led me to this. This is a Snow Peak mini spork. It's just like the long one that they have, but it's a smaller option. And the way that the reason why I like this one is because my biggest complaint to all of these different sporks and spoons was that I could not fit them in my cook kit. So this has all the same features that I liked about all the other ones. It still has a bowl on it. It's got a deep bowl. It's got a spork on it. Same with this one. This one is obviously smaller. It would fit in a pot, but I didn't have to worry about this part and this part getting dirty. So for a long time I actually did use this one. Even now I still like this one. And let me give you a weight on this one as well. That one comes in at 0.52 ounces. So it's slightly heavier than all the other ones except for the long spoon. But the convenience for me, or the trade-off is that I knew I could take it and stick it in my cook pot and have everything in the cook pot at one time. So to me that was just a plus. It wasn't something that I had to have sticking out of my pack somewhere. For me that was just a personal preference. For others you may not care, but that was one of the reasons why I went with this. And to this day I still love this spork. I can't say anything bad about it. One of the things you'll notice is that in my gear video reviews I do use a lot of Snow Peak products. I highly recommend them, and they are some of my personal favorites as far as titanium ultralight gear. My last two backpacking trips, my brother and I went together, and he was using one of these. I think he told me, or if I remember correctly, he picked this up at Walmart. And it's just a plastic spork, nothing fancy. I think it's made by Outdoor Products. Again, I normally don't shop at Walmart for backpacking gear, but you know, I had seen him using this, and I was a little curious because I had tried using like the not the Walmart, but the fast food plastic spoons, and even like using the Blizzard ones from McDonald's. And you know, I had a concern with their durability. Yeah, I mean, you're going backpacking. If it breaks, you come back, you just get another one. But I want something that's going to last for a little while, and shaving 0.05 ounces as opposed to having a spoon that's like 0.1 ounce, really wasn't that big of a deal breaker for me. Yeah, I like to go super ultralight, I like to go ultralight, but you know, when you start talking about those kind of numbers, to me that's very minimal. So anyway, I'd seen him using this one, and you know, it's longer than the other ones, or longer than this one or this one, so it wouldn't fit in my cook pot. But I knew that because it was made out of plastic that I could cut it down. It does have a very big bowl on it, and it does have sharp spork tips on it, so you know, for piercing your food and that type of thing. So when I saw his, one of the first things I thought about was, you know, I could cut this down, make it the same size as this one, so that way it'll fit in my cook pot and I can use it, but not to mention the fact that it's also a lighter option. So I'm going to do a quick weight on this one. That one comes in at 0.7 ounces, 0.17 ounces. So when you compare this to the rest of these options over here, this is a lighter option. Not to mention the fact that it is plastic. That could be a deal breaker for some people. You may want titanium. But again, I also knew that I could cut it down. So what I ended up with was this one right here. And this is what I use most of the time. This is the same thing as that. All I did was I cut it down, took a lighter, and just kind of melted the edge just to kind of make it a little, or melted the back end just to make it a little bit smoother. And let me give you a weight on this one. And when I cut it down, I really wasn't cutting it down for weight purposes. I was just really cutting it down so that way it could fit in my cook pot. That one comes in at 0.15 ounces. So when you compare this to the rest of these options right here, this is the lightest of the options. You know, again, this is a 550 milliliter pot. Just kind of give you an idea. It does actually fit in there. I've got some stuff in the bottom. I normally just kind of stick the spoon in first and then, you know, stick everything at the bottom, but it does fit in there. So for me, that's giving me exactly what I want. I want something that's going to fit in my cook pot. I want something that's light. I've wanted something that had the ability to pierce my food if I needed to. I wanted something with a big bowl, something that was easy to clean. And when you buy these, you actually get, like, if I remember correctly, it's 3 or 4 of them in a pack. So, you know, if something happens to it, I lose it, I break it, it melts. I just take another one, do the same thing, just cut the end off of it, you know, melt it, and I've got another one to replace it. And if I want to say that these were like $1.99, maybe $3 at Walmart, so they're very inexpensive. When you compare it to some of these titanium ones, these normally run somewhere around, I want to say around $10 to maybe $12 each, versus this where you get a pack of 4 for like $2 to $3. So, you know, just kind of for size reference, if I'm eating out of this, which again, as I mentioned, I normally don't eat out of cook pots, but if I wanted to, you know, the handle on it's long enough where I can eat out of there. If I was doing some freezer bag cooking and still had the freezer bag in my cozy, I can still go in there pretty well. And then when you even compare it to like a mountain house, yeah, if you're really going in there trying to scrape everything off the bottom, your hand's going to get a little dirty, but you can actually take this and kind of roll it down a little bit, which I found works for me. That way when you're sticking it in there, you don't have to worry about your hands getting dirty. So anyway, that's my gear review on just different types of, oh, actually let me go over this too. You know, this was another option that I used. These are just chopsticks. I realized that a lot of stuff that I was eating was pasta for my dinner meals. So chopsticks are another lightweight option. Some people may have them at their house. Some people may just have, you know, a pair that they got from a Chinese restaurant or fast food restaurant, and just, you know, it's just another option that you can use. It makes it a lot easier, especially if you know how to use chopsticks for eating a lot of food. You definitely have the reach on it to reach into your bags, even your freezer bags. It's not going to fit in your cook pot. And I also know that some people actually will use chopsticks as a way of shaving weight for steaks. I've never tried it. I would have concerns with that, but I do know that some people will actually do that. So not only do you have an eating utensil, but you have a way of staking your tent down. I can't see you putting my eating utensil and stick it in the dirt and then trying to eat with it later, but I do know some pretty extreme ultralight backpackers that do stuff like that. And let me also give you a weight on this one as well. So that comes in at 0.4 ounces. Obviously, this isn't going to work for you if you eat a lot or do a lot of soups and stuff like that, but it's just another option that I would just wanted to put out there. If you have any questions or concerns, please feel free to comment below. Like and subscribe. This is Sean Rio.